I took 4 days off work and I gained at least 4 pounds, and I might have even taken a 4 hour nap or two.
That's a lot of fours. I just willingly watched the entire Friday the 13th box set. Bad luck or bad judgment? You decide.
Some are better than others. Happy sweater weather, everybody. Guess what? I'm getting very into canned chili.
Chilly. Got a massage the other day, and after, the masseuse read my tarot cards. Sarah, we're not in Kansas anymore.
No, we aren't. Have such a good day. Welcome back to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that once a week.
Oh, every day, really.
Every day.
Have such a good day. I mean, we would have called it Have Such a Good Week, Sarah.
We come together once a week, Heather and I, to help you have such a good day throughout the week until we all meet again.
This is true. This is true. And hopefully you will learn a ton of interesting stuff from science and technology and animals and spiders and Kansas and the world at large.
Because life is absurd, and we're trying to unpack the absurdity of everyday life, including Kansas. My gosh.
I don't know where that came from.
I don't
Someone was
either.
talking about Kansas that, I feel like it's all about these like smaller cities in these wacky states that people are moving to. Like you hear all these stories about people kind of like leaving California in droves, leaving San Francisco.
Sure. Yeah. And then it's like, yeah, and then where do you go? And I've never been to Kansas.
Me neither.
I've been to an eastern part of Colorado that was near the Kansas border, and I remember looking out over and being like, that's so crazy. It's
There's
like,
Kansas.
Well, because when I was a kid, I was like, oh, Wizard of Oz, Kansas. Clearly there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
But it was like this like strange world over there. I don't know. Actually, you know what? Duh, I'm lying. I've been to Kansas City.
Sarah, stop lying to us.
I'm sorry. I had completely blocked that out. It wasn't my favorite
I
trip
heard
that
Kansas
I've ever
City's
had.
kind of cool, actually.
Kansas City, well, it's because it's on the border of Kansas and Missouri. So there's Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. And it's, depending on where you are, you might be in one state or the other, which is also just fascinating because Heather and I from California, which is a big state, and we're on the western side of it. It's like to be just like, oh, let me dip my toe in another state is like very foreign, but a lot of people do that.
And right now, it feels very foreign, like traveling. Oh, wow, that sounds so 2019.
Oh, totally. I have a friend who lives in the UK. Hadn't talked to him in a while, and he used to live in the US, and so I haven't seen him in a long time since he moved a couple of years ago. And he was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Oh my God, you have to visit." And he was like, "Yeah, I mean, I don't know when I'll ever be able to do that." And I was like, "Oh yeah," because that's sort of a thing that you just say to a friend, like, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a while. You should come visit."
Totally.
And then I realized, oh, you'd have to get on a plane for 9 hours.
Yeah, during a pandemic.
Right. Like, I mean, I would love to go visit you as well, but we're not doing that right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's not happening.
Speaking of absurdity of everyday life, that's just, I mean, the travel thing just never gets any less absurd.
Speaking of, I know, it's crazy.
So I mentioned at the top of the show that I had taken 4 days off. Ooh, crazy vacation, But I am, as a freelancer, I have learned to embrace the fact that I just don't, you don't get like 2 weeks off per year from, the company that pays you and also gives you a nice benefits package. And it just isn't.
What's that?
You're right. It isn't the case anymore. But on my other show, Daily Tech News Show, which is a daily show, and so it's a lot of work. There are a small but proud group of us, and we all kind of, a couple months ago, it was sort of like, okay, well, no one's going anywhere, but we should all still take a few days off. I mean, just for like mental health and just
reprieve, yeah.
Yeah, we're all allowed to do that. So it was kind of like, and we can't all do that at the same time, so let's talk about when that's going to be. And originally I was going to do it last week because it was my birthday, and then I was like, it sort of didn't work out, so it ended up being this week. And it was only 4 days because I was back on the show, and long story, not important, but it was 4 full days of me just kind of like waking up in the morning. I wake up early because I have things to do, I have animals to feed, and I got to go on, my morning walks and just run errands and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna lay in bed all day and sleep till noon, because my body physically is not capable of doing that. But it was, for the first time in a while, I was like, I have nothing to do.
So you didn't go in the hot tub in your birthday suit?
I didn't.
That didn't happen.
No, I didn't. I have yet to go in there. I don't know why. I'm just like, I just don't want to. It's gonna be all I'm gonna smell like chlorine afterwards. I just don't want to. But but no, I certainly did some things. I had like a laundry list of stupid stuff that I just kept not getting to because I'd be like tired at the end of the day after working, and so I definitely crossed some things off of that list. But I also just did a lot of puttering around, just kind of
I love that.
not doing anything, and it felt awesome. And never once was I like, oh, I should have planned something cooler, for this week, or gotten crazy and gone on a road trip or whatever. It was like, it was really nice just to hang.
I love it.
Yeah, so it worked out nicely, but I know that everyone calls it like the staycation, where it's like you're not doing anything, you're just not working, so you get to enjoy life as a non-working person without having to do a lot of planning or packing or moving around. And I'll tell you, I mean, I'd love to travel and I really miss it, and I can't wait to, I don't know, I can't wait to get on a plane someday when it makes sense to do so. But it's also it's really nice to just be like, I'm just hanging out, and I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel like I'm unproductive because I planned it this way, and I can just read a magazine for like 2 hours if I want to.
Watch a movie during the day.
Yeah, and not that I was like totally unplugged, because I'm not really capable of doing that, but I was pretty off the internet. I would check in with things that I felt like checking in with, not things that I had to check in with.
Like me.
Yes, well, of course. I mean, that's just that's just friend stuff.
We're just like blabbing like every day, really.
Right.
If only you could see what we talk about. Well, some of you do on our Discord.
Yeah, no
You're
kidding.
the lucky ones.
But it was real nice, and the weather around my parts, it's definitely starting to get chilly at night. If I walk my dog Otis at 10 p.m., kind of just like last pee of the night before we turn in, it's like, it's, I'm wearing a jacket now, but it's still pretty balmy during the day. I'm getting excited, not maybe so much about doing dog walks in the rain at night, but I'm getting excited about just bundling up a little bit more and, I don't know, wearing stuff that I just haven't even looked at in so long. And
totally. I love the changing of the seasons, and especially fall, because it's like the light is really beautiful right now, and it's like a lower light.
The shadows are longer.
Yeah, shadows are longer. Yeah, there is something. It's like you can't put your finger on it. It's just a feeling. It's like hard to articulate, but I know exactly what you're talking about. And like the sweater weather. I mean, gosh, I went outside to walk Frank this morning, and whew, was it nipply. It's funny because I have a puffy jacket that is pretty warm, but it's not like rainproof or snowproof. It's not like that substantial. And I'm seriously considering getting like a real puffy Gore-Tex Patagonia like jacket, because it gets in the 30s up here, and in fact it was low 40s this morning, and oof, man. It was chilly.
And there's probably some folks listening thinking like the 30s. We're
I
talking
know.
Fahrenheit, of course, but like that's not even really that cold, which is true. I've visited, I don't know, like friends in New York or whatever during a snowstorm. And I'm always the most ill-prepared person for that, because I'm like, I know it's going to be cold. So, I mean, I have layers and stuff, but it's all just the wrong things. My
It's like
shoes
you bring a
are
leather
wrong.
jacket and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
probably good.
Yeah,
And
like
then
it's
you're
like
freezing the whole time.
And yeah, it's more of like what I needed was a robe style, North Face jacket that goes down to my ankles and also has a
100%.
hood, and then very waterproof and lined boots and all that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, it's funny. I'm the queen of not bringing the proper jacket anywhere. Like when I had a pea coat when I lived in Paris, and it was like record-breaking lows. It was like below zero when I lived there. And I remember being cold all the time. I wore like 2 jackets, I think, because I was like a poor student. But I remember going to Eastern Europe, and I think I bought like a really nice hoodie. And I'm like, and I went there in like March or something, and I thought, oh, spring, it'll be warm. Oh my God. I mean, I don't even know why I didn't go and buy a jacket, but I was so cold on that trip. Anyway,
Yeah.
lessons learned.
Lessons learned. There was actually, it's funny, I had many years ago gone on this trip to the UK. It was like my boyfriend and I at the time were in England and Scotland and Ireland, and we were sort of, renting a car and driving around and taking trains the rest of the way. It was a super fun trip, but it was one of those things where at one point I was like, I'm just cold all the time. This is ridiculous. I need to buy something. Didn't need something fancy. And it would have been the equivalent of like a Target. I don't remember the chain store, but wherever we were at the time, I think it was in Ireland. And it was like a Kmart or whatever. It's like just go in and get something. And I got this red puffy jacket, and it wasn't expensive, but it was kind of cute. And I wore that for years afterwards. And people would always be like, "That is so cute. Where did you get that?" Because I think it was slightly, you couldn't really place where it came from.
Sure,
because it was pretty
unique.
rando. Yeah. And I don't even know what happened to it, but I was always like, that was such a great purchase of mine. Yeah. And it didn't
I love
even
when that
cost
happens because
anything.
it doesn't happen that often when you find like a gem at a place, I guess like Kmart, or maybe not. I mean, I haven't been to a Kmart in a long time, but I don't love shopping in person, and it's like too much searching around for that gem. But we don't have any stores up here, so I don't really have that problem.
Yeah. Well, everything's online now, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of like identifying with where you live, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because, you and I both just kind of are fish out of water. We were city girls, and now we're in the country. I hope we haven't belabored this topic, but, I really have been thinking about what it is that there is still that feeling that doesn't feel quite right. Like I stick out like a sore thumb, or like just this feeling that like, am I a square peg in a round hole kind of thing? And I think I don't know if everybody does this, but I think I put a lot of identification into where I live because, obviously we're drawn to certain places for certain reasons, and it resonates with who you are. And so this place is just different for me, and it's not quite what I'm used to. And so that part has been challenging. Just living in a cultural mecca my whole life, I think I'm just trying to kind of adapt. But I gotta say, it's very cool to not have to go to the same office and sit at the same desk all day. The one thing that is pretty great about the situation up here is there's always so much going on. Like, even you can really stay busy, but I feel like there's a lot more work to be done in the country because you're in the country, and there's just, I don't know. And my dad has this empire, and I like it because I have so many projects right now, and I'm starting to identify with some of those projects, like in a good way, where it's like, oh, this feels right, this feels good, this feels creative, this feels like me. And some of those things, like this week, was essentially like a whole variety of random stuff, like kind of re-landscaped one of my dad's buildings kind of temporarily. We're going to do like a whole new thing with these new flower beds that I'm trying to get specially built, sized and kind of designed and everything from like a local wood guy. So that's kind of fun. It's like a small project, but it's, it takes time. You got to think about it and figure out what you need and measurements. And I did a landscaping project at one of our cottages. We're kind of starting to think about how we're going to landscape this total blank canvas house that we have on the property that we're going to turn into an Airbnb. And then I had a huge landscaping day yesterday. Go to the, nursery. We're in the raspberry section. I'm like picking out these rare, like raspberries and different strawberries.
What are rare raspberries?
Well, maybe not rare, but they're like just learning about the different kinds because they all have different names and they grow, certain ones grow well up here. But I got like the pale yellow ones. We didn't have those this year. We had an incredible raspberry crop this year, actually. They were so good. And we have like a berry garden section that's like all berries.
That's cool.
And it's an insane amount of work. It's like I have barely been in there because I've been doing the other garden. So we have our gardener kind of work on the berries. It's insane. It's just like constant, stuff. But it's fun because we were like berry garden stuff, and then we planted some hydrangeas next to the cottages just to make it nicer when people pull up, because these places just get so overgrown, and it takes a lot of work to just do like a 10-foot patch. And then you dig holes, and then you find that there's a rock, a huge boulder under there, and you can't even plant anything. So then you're kind of back to square one, and like you're just digging around. And I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, lots of fun little projects this week. We cleaned out a shed of an insane amount of just stuff and going through everything. I've been kind of scheming with some locals about doing like some pop-ups and this ad hoc yoga studio that I told you about, I think, last show. So that's kind of fun, potential future projects where we have this old fashioned sink, like kind of a really cool, like ceramic sink that we're going to like put in the garden, which will be really fun. We're doing this trail to the ocean. I mean, it's like, oh man.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
Yeah, you got some projects.
we got some stuff, but it's been cool. And I'm, hopefully I'm getting closer to identifying what it is that I can love and embrace up here.
Well, I love that you're leaning into it. It's like you're there now. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. So obviously, I'm sure your dad is really thankful and grateful, and it's fun to collaborate and, I don't know, put in those raspberry flower beds that you've been talking about for years and that kind of stuff. But
It is fun.
I am good with indoor plants.
Yeah.
I have lots of indoor plants. It's not that I don't like a nice outdoor garden. I very much do, but it's intimidating to me.
It is.
Indoor plants. Oh my gosh.
Totally.
Speaking of indoor plants, this is a weird thing. So I've got this asparagus fern that I wouldn't do this again, but I got it like from a plant provider on Amazon. They ship you a living
wow,
plant.
I've never done that.
Yeah. And somebody had recommended this. It's like an Amazon offshoot company of some kind. And they said, oh, no, it's great. They just bring them to you. And so I did. And when I opened it, the box, and I was all like worried about it because I'm like, I don't want to miss the shipment. And it's going to be sitting out there all sad in a box, by the front gate.
It's going to wilt.
This poor plant. Yeah. So I opened it and I was like, oh, this is way smaller than I thought it was going to be. I mean, it was world's smallest little asparagus fern, but they're so cute. So I was like, all right, we got room to grow here. And I, after some time repotted it and figured you can spread out. And it's been doing great. It's a lovely little plant. What's that?
How big do they get?
Well, I mean, they can get pretty big, but it all depends on the pot, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to go too crazy. It's a medium-sized, cute little fern. But the other day, my plants they're on different schedules. Some stuff has to be watered like kind of every other day. And, like my prayer plant has to be misted because it wants humidity, and then the cactuses, you kind of leave them alone, but. So it's not just like, oh, I just water everything, and then don't think about it. I'm always thinking about these little plants.
Of course.
Because, I'm trying to I want them to be happy and stay alive and all that good stuff. So I look the other morning and it's kind of murky. It's sort of early. And I look and I'm like, did I put rocks on top of that? On top of my asparagus fern? Like, I didn't do that, did I? Why are there rocks? And I realize they're not rocks. It's mold.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Whoa.
Apparently this is very common with certain like indoor plant, when you buy potting soil, it can, if it's not draining just so, or for whatever reason, I don't know, whatever's going on, it can create like a fungus that doesn't really hurt the plant, but obviously you don't want that.
Sure.
And so I was like, I look it up on the internet. I'm like, what is happening to my plant? Because the plant looks fine, which is why I probably just didn't notice until it was like somewhat dramatic. Yeah. So yeah, you have to like scrape it off the top, but then, there's they say it's almost always because the drainage isn't good enough. And I'm like, but it like drains fine. And all my other plants that use the same potting soil are fine.
It's befuddling. I know. I find indoor plants to be slightly more, well, I wouldn't say more tricky because there's just different things, but like I really, yeah, like sometimes my plants would die and you'd be like, what? I did the same thing to that one. It's like the same plant. Like what it,
Yeah. A lot of questions.
yeah,
A lot of
there are a lot of
questions.
questions for sure. It does take time,
I mean, and I
to
have
figure it out.
plants that, because you will, I always like read about it, plant experts. I don't know. I do that for fun, and then I just don't take their advice. I'm like, we'll just see how it goes. I have plants that have been recommended to be repotted for like 10 years, and they're fine.
Yeah.
Maybe they would be like flourishing that much more if I had repotted them, but they are happy plants.
Yeah, and
So
you
who
could get a
knows?
dud here and there too. Like one
Yeah.
just gets diseased, and he's. But yeah, no, ongoing adventures of gardening, indoor and outdoor.
Well, speaking of things to do indoors, although you could do it outdoors, I suppose, depending on what you're watching it on. I had a very fun thing happen, and this is this is actually my whole several days off timing worked out so well because on Monday being October whatever, if it's October when we're recording this, October 22nd,
23rd.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's a few days ago. On Monday of this week, Apple announced that they were launching a streaming music video service called Apple Music TV. And
I'm surprised it's taken so long.
I know. And but at the same time it was like, and it got a lot of attention, at least, at the time, that day. I just happened to not be working, although this would have been a story that I would have covered
Yeah.
had I been doing my tech stuff normally. And what it is it's like I've been using it on my Apple TV music app, so results may vary, but you go into the app and then you go to the browse tab and then it gives you the option to watch Apple Music TV. And the first 24 hours were literally just like back-to-back videos.
Oh my
Just
God,
music
that's awesome.
videos. That's all. And you kind of go like, well, I mean, first of all, you're talking about MTV, right? Well, I'm talking about what MTV was once.
Was it a variety of videos from different decades, or was there a
No, it
theme?
was
or?
actually what they did was it was like the top 100 streamed songs over the last year or something,
wow.
or maybe ever. I think on Apple TV in general. So it was a lot of like popular modern music, a lot of hip hop, a lot of R&B.
Yeah.
But there was other stuff in there as well, and it was. I'm watching it and I'm talking to a couple people online and I'm like, hey, check this out. See, I want to see, because you're in a different time zone than me. I want to see if we're seeing the same thing, or if it's staggered or whatever. And a few of us were like, we sat there for like a couple hours and just like chatted about the videos that we
That's
were
cool.
watching. And it was so old school. It was so like what
fun.
I did in junior high with my friends. Either like we'd sit there on the couch and just like watch MTV together for hours,
there was no,
or
like,
we'd be on the
host?
phone talking about it. No, but they are going to introduce some of that stuff, some
Okay.
kind of VJ elements, and some interviews, and make it a little bit more interesting. So the company says, but it's brand new. But it gave me so much joy. But at the same time, because I realized that there's Vivo, and certainly you can go to YouTube, like you can. Any song that's mildly popular is going to have a music video. Like someone made that video, some
Sure.
production company paid for it. And every so often that'll come across my plate. Like, oh, someone's like, you have to watch this cool video, or, oh, isn't it crazy that Taylor Swift looked like this in her video? And so I will look stuff up, but I'm not watching music videos ever.
I know. And it's funny because I would, but you almost forget. And yeah, the fact that now there's like a service, then yeah, it makes it so much easier. But I don't really look for stuff anymore.
Not at all, because it requires like you have to go seek something out. When it
Yeah.
comes to like a television show that's like, oh, it's on HBO or it's on Netflix, or here's how you get it.
Yeah.
That's one thing, but like the music video stuff has always been, I don't know. I mean, I guess sometimes I'd watch it like riveted, but it's kind of backgroundy.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, I don't care what they're doing
Yeah.
for music videos. But when it was just on my TV, just going on its own, I was like, this is
awesome.
actually like really fun. But I also, even this morning, because I can't watch TV when I'm working, it's too distracting. But sometimes with music, if I'm in the right mood, depending on what I have to do at the
Sure.
time, I can deal with it, and I kind of
Yeah.
like it. It just makes me feel like,
Like
it's just
cleaning the house or something.
or just something where I don't have to concentrate on some other kind of word
Sure.
is just, I don't know, it's kind of nice to have something on in the background. So this morning I was just doing some research where it was just, it was okay. I kind of wanted some music on and I'm like, oh yeah, I should put on the music videos. And it's weird because you watch these videos and you're like, I know this song and sometimes I really like the song, but I just had no idea this was your creative like interpretation of the song. And now that's what I think about, which is funny
Oh, of
because
course.
I mean, think of how many music videos that you saw when we were kids where you were like, oh, because it was like a super creative video.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And that's, part of the draw of the song,
Of course. And some of them, it's funny because I have seen, I've seen a lot of music videos in my life. Was definitely an MTV kid, but I remember like watching stuff that I loved as a kid, and you watch it now and like the narratives, if there even is a narrative, are
Right.
like they're so bad. It's like so hokey and like yeah, usually not much of a story. But even if there is a story, it's even worse because it's like so silly. But it's funny because I listen to a lot of the Sirius satellite 80s channels when I drive. And oh man, it's funny. I remember those videos so well. Like when like a Donna Summer song comes on, or like Depeche Mode or whatever, The Cure. I will never forget some of those classics. From when I was a teenager. So yeah, they're kind of burned into my brain.
Totally.
Like Rock the Casbah with the armadillo walking across. I will never forget that Clash video. There's just certain ones that just really stick in your brain.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's cool. I want to check that out.
I don't actually remember Rock the Casbah, the video, but I probably, if I were to watch it, I'd be like, oh yeah, 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 of course.
Yeah, like in the desert.
Yeah.
and-
Well, it was like, there was like The Weeknd, the artist, The Weeknd.
Yeah.
It was, now of course I can't remember it right off the top of my head, but it's like his latest hit.
Okay.
And it's where it's like his face is bloody, and then he has like, that's like his
Oh, I
whole
haven't
like
seen that.
thing that he's been doing for a while. Like he was on Saturday Night Live with a bloody face in his last appearance, and everyone's like, what's wrong with him? And it's like, well,
Weird.
no, that's like part of his like album
Yeah.
thing. It's like it's an artistic thing. But I had never watched the video, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm just like, this is just so weird. Like he's in a car, yeah, and there's a storyline, and there's violence, and you're like, I just never thought about that listening to the song, but now I will.
Yeah, some of them are honestly like award-winning videos. Like that 99
Yeah.
Problems Jay-Z video is like one of the coolest music videos I've ever seen. But then like most of them, especially like 80s stuff, is 80s and 90s. Yeah, the thin narratives, they're trying so hard to be artistic. I mean, it's hilarious. It's actually really fun watching them now in retrospect because there's a lot to laugh about. It's like so silly, and I don't know. That's cool. I definitely want to check that out because
Yeah.
I miss watching those for
It was
sure.
just, and the two friends that I had that I mentioned that we were all just kind of powwowing together.
Mm-hmm.
We were all remote. We weren't together physically, but we were having some fun, just talking about what
Cool.
we were seeing. And yeah, like there was like a Future song, and one of my friends was like, Molly Percocet, what the hell kind of song is this? And I'm like, you've heard this song before. It's like really, really well known. He's like, I swear to God, I have not heard the song. So it was just fun. And
That's awesome.
Both of them, I checked in with them before starting this episode because I wanted to get their sense, and they were like, "Yeah, we haven't like watched the videos since that day, Sarah." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh,
interesting.
I have."
Yeah, maybe it's like a flash in the pan.
Well, I think it's like one of these. Hey, we're offering this.
Yeah.
Sort of like. Well, so I subscribe to Apple Music and not Spotify, but Spotify I know does very similar things. But it's like they have curated stations and some personalities that show up from time to time and some interviews and that kind of thing. And I guess it's like why not at least give people a video version with all these
Sure.
videos that exist?
Well, yeah, and people are sitting at home. I mean, why not offer more content? You know, I think I got
That
a
is very true.
6-month free Apple Music thing with my new Verizon account. I should take advantage of that.
You know, you should look into that because, and we might have different, I don't know what your plan is, but I'm also on Verizon and I get Apple Music for free.
That's what I think I got an email about that. So I
Yeah,
gotta look
and
into
it's
that
not,
'cause I
it's
don't
like,
have
it's
Spotify
like,
anymore.
it's for life. It's not like
Oh,
a 6-month
really?
thing. It's Apple Music is just
Oh, I
part
should
of
call
my,
them.
part of my bundle. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, I'm so excited I'm on Verizon now. I can actually receive phone calls like on the property when I'm like in the garden because before I couldn't. It was really frustrating. And Slack was always tough because Slack is seems to be tougher than like text message.
Well, because it's SMS versus
Yeah.
the internet. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's very exciting. And it's funny because I had no issues, Sarah, at all whatsoever. It was so easy and smooth. So I don't know. Like last time, it wasn't.
Yeah. For anybody who is like, what are they talking
Didn't
about?
hear that episode.
Yeah, Heather and I spent some time in the Verizon store when we both lived back in LA, and it was just a comedy of errors of confusion as to why she couldn't just sign up for Verizon.
We were there for like 3 hours. I mean, that's a good friend, Sarah, going with me to the Verizon store.
I do feel like at one point I was like, I'm kind of ready to go.
Yeah, I think I left with you.
Yeah, I think we were like, this is, let's just figure this
Yeah,
out later.
we're done.
It's a nice day out here. But yeah, so anyway, I've been watching a lot of, the newest version of MTV. It's been fun.
Love it.
And I'll check back in with y'all in a couple weeks because now that I'm a working lady again, who knows how many music videos I'll really be watching.
Yeah, I'm actually curious if you'll stick to it. But when I'm not watching my Giallo movies, I have been watching nature, Sarah. And
Okay.
nature can be startling, let me tell you.
Oh, you mean nature, not nature on TV.
Like actual nature. No,
like-
not everything is about TV, Sarah.
You set it up that way where I'm like, oh, like a nature show.
Totally. I love nature shows. Don't get me wrong. In fact, sometimes I get sucked into those. Do you ever play those YouTube videos that are like hours long that are just birds that you put on for your cats when you like leave town?
I never do, but you've asked me to do that for
Oh, that's
your
right.
cats when
They love it.
Yeah,
And they're kind of mesmerizing. You're
and
just
they're like 18 hours
meditative
long.
kind of. I know this is insane.
it
And they're
is.
just like birds pecking at like seeds and like, I mean, it's super boring, but like
Well, when you're a cat,
it's exciting.
I like it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny. So like I think I'm like still a little bit of that like timid girly girl in the country sort of thing. And, I'll walk out the front door and I hear like like a shuffling in the bushes, and I'm like, what is that? And it's like a lizard, or like a little snake going by, and it's just like, oh my God, and yeah, like it's cool, like because we're on 9 acres and I see a lot of wildlife. It's pretty awesome. Like yesterday, I saw a family of quail scuffling along, like doing that lean, like have you ever seen quails run together as a family and they lean forward? They're the cutest things.
Oh, totally.
Ever.
Quails,
I love
quails
them.
crossing the street, like little baby quails,
It's
and
so
they're
cute.
in a very orderly fashion.
Yes, and they're
it's
like
amazing.
scurrying,
Yeah.
and then they lean. They're so cute. There's a lot of quail up here. Actually, it's I see them all the time, and obviously like deer and like the babies that I've never seen such small babes. But yeah, you see the pregnant deer, and then you see their babies like a few weeks later. It's pretty cool. Lots of hummingbirds. They're very friendly. I have so many flowers outside that there's just tons of hummingbirds, and they'll come right up to your face, and they have this like baby airplane sound, like, and it sort of startles you though, because you're like, what is that? Almost sounds like a huge bee, but it's a hummingbird, and I've never
right.
heard one so like loud and distinct before, because I mean, you don't hear it in the city. But I did see my first fox, and it was very exciting for me because I think fox are the cutest things. And I was really bummed because my boyfriend kept seeing fox and I hadn't seen one. and I wanted him to describe it. Like, was he orange or brown? And I finally saw a fox. It was very exciting. But then like the next day I saw a fox roadkill. So that was a total sad emoji day.
Yeah.
You really have to drive slow here because of Animal Crossing. Seriously, 'cause sometimes I catch myself like I like to kind of drive speedily sometimes. And you shouldn't, because you're going to hit an animal. I mean, it happens all the time. But yeah, other than all those little critters, there's a lot of healthy looking birds. And I know that
Healthy,
sounds weird.
like chunky.
Like yeah, just like really beautiful colors, like very vivid, and like they just seem like when you're in the city,
Oh,
it's like
okay.
you
Not
see a lot of
fat
pigeons.
birds.
Yeah. Not exactly, but ones
Yeah,
that
yeah.
look like
Those birds look well fed.
but like a city bird is a little like rough around the edges, you know?
Well, sure. Yeah, the pigeons of the world. Sure.
Yes, the
Yeah.
pigeons.
They
And
got
so-
they got dealt a bad deck.
They really did. And so, yeah, it's neat. Like I've never seen such a variety of birds. I mean, you know, you got your standard like ravens and like blue jays and, you know, kind of like your raptors and stuff. And then there's all these songbirds, and some of them I'm like, whoa, like I was so close to a woodpecker the other day. I mean, it was like 2 feet away from me pecking at this tree, and it was so trippy seeing it that close. It was awesome. I kind of love this whole nature thing being so close. But my favorite thing ever is the Canadian geese are migrating, and it is such a wonderful thing, because, you know, they go above in like these triangular sort of patterns, and they honk as they go by. I mean, I love a Canadian goose honk like more than anything in the world. And they're so cute. They make me laugh. I'm not a total bird nerd, but I have been scoping. I'm curious about the migration stuff, because there's, you know, obviously a lot of birds are migrating right now. And there's a website called thebirdcast.info, and they kind of talk about migration alerts, like this one that was back in September. High intensity migration predicted for the night of September 29th.
Right. It's like a
So
red
basically,
flag
like,
warning.
in the
Like, watch
evening,
for the birds.
It's like a red flag warning. Exactly. And sometimes you hear them coming, and it does sound intense. You're like, what is that? And you hear it like from far away, and it's like kind of this rumbling noise, and it's this, you know, it's like billions of birds on the move, you know, it's like this huge thing, and it's pretty cool. I've never been so kind of in touch with that kind of thing, like a bird migration. Like, it's so neat. I'm like, where are they going?
Yeah, I mean, when we
both
you know, lived in the eastern part of LA in Echo Park specifically, there were all of these ducks and geese and various kind of other
there were
birds, especially that were along this, you know, kind of man-made lake that a lot of people hung out, which I walked around all the time. But depending on the time of year, like, they'd have babies and then they'd all disappear, and you were like, oh gosh, what happened? And then they'd all kind of come back.
Yep.
And it's like, and this was like
were some
the
amazing
middle of the
birds down
city,
there, actually.
so they were going somewhere for a little while anyway.
Yes. So there's mass migrations
It's funny
happening right
when
now.
because I run an Airbnb, and Heather and I are because our lives are in parallel forevermore.
We're proprietesses.
We are.
I can't
yes,
even say that word.
We both deal with people that come and go, and those people are you never know what you're gonna get. You know, it's like it could be difficult. They could keep to themselves. They could be super friendly. Who knows? Whatever. But there was a group of. It was a family, or maybe a couple of families. I don't really remember, but they were really friendly. They were really nice. And, you know, when I would kind of come and go, because I kind of keep to myself, because I'm wanting people to have their privacy if they want it.
Sure.
You know, sometimes that's fine. And sometimes people are like, Sarah, you know, come, you know, talk to us for a minute.
that's
Totally
cool,
cool.
right?
Yeah, of course. It's up to them. You know, it's your vacation. But they were just friendly folks. And it was like a family, you know, with like younger kids, people our age, and then grandparents, and then like a couple other people. And the grandparents had said when they first got to the property, like, wow, this is really like, do you get a lot of birds here? Because we're very avid bird watchers, you know, and like we've got our binoculars, and, you know, do you have any tips? And I was like, ooh, well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of birds around here. Trust me, there are. I don't know if they're like exciting birds to you, because I don't, you know, I'm just not really up on my bird watching. But they said, well, okay, yeah, we'll just, we'll enjoy and go on walks and we'll see what we can see. And as they were leaving, as they were checking out, they said, you know what you have here? Cuckoo birds. And I was like, oh, okay. And they were like, did you not know that? I'm like, I did not. No. What are they? Like, I mean, a cuckoo clock. I know that. I was like, a cuckoo bird, like not a woodpecker. You're not talking woodpecker, because those I hear all the time. And they're like, no, a cuckoo bird. And I'm like, okay. And so I looked them up on the internet because I was like, is this like a special thing, we've got going on? They're, they're around, and there are lots of different kinds. Like a roadrunner is a cuckoo bird.
Oh, yeah, I love roadrunners.
I've never seen one around here, but there are definitely, that is like a blanket term for several different kinds of birds.
Oh, those are so cool.
But yeah, I was like, I was happy because I was like, oh, they were super impressed with the cuckoo birds that I've never noticed. As they were leaving, they were like,
really cool.
That is a very cool thing that you should probably put on your Airbnb profile, cuckoo bird.
You know what's really funny? It's funny how certain hobbies are like dorkier than others, and birding, bird watching, whatever you want to call it, I feel like it kind of has like a dorky connotation to it.
Bird watching?
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of nerdy, I guess.
I think it requires, what is it like? It requires just silence and patience.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Maybe not unlike people who love to fish.
Sure.
Where you might have a dramatic day and you might get nothing. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
No, that's true.
I love birds. Some people don't like birds. I even like pigeons. I like dirty pigeons. I like, you're covered in feathers. You're a little dinosaur and you can fly through the air. I like you. That is a cool,
birds are very
superpower.
It's cool that you brought up dinosaur because I feel like it's the animal other than like reptiles that reminds me a lot of a dinosaur. Like pelicans are so like prehistoric looking.
Totally. Yeah.
You got to appreciate the birds, man.
I love the birds. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying watching nature. I have not seen a fox around my parts. Definitely deer. We apparently have mountain lions. I haven't run into one, but you'll occasionally see a sign. Someone will post something to a tree being like, saw a mountain lion. So I'm always like, okay.
Definitely be careful when you go out after dark, like dusk, 10 p.m. If you're walking Otis, seriously, like be careful because that's when they come out.
Well,
it's between dusk and dawn.
Yeah. And I don't, my dog is big, but he's a baby and I don't want to get in a tussle with a mountain lion.
No,
for
you don't.
Sure. But I don't want him to either.
Maybe
I
carry
think it
around
would
a
just
big
be
boulder with
confusing
you.
for everyone. You're right. I'll just always have
stand
my
tall,
mountain lion
remember?
boulder.
Yeah.
Yep. Stand tall. Yeah. Act mean. Don't lean over. Let's take a moment to thank everyone who supports the show because you all are the best.
Let's do that.
And we love you. Yeah, we're talking anybody who listens to the show and tells a friend and leaves us a nice review on iTunes or Apple Podcast now, I guess. All of that is appreciated, but extra special thanks to our patrons. Patreon.com/have such a good day is the place that we're consolidating our community. We're hoping to grow. We got 90 patrons looking towards 100. I could see it on the horizon, just like Kansas.
89. We're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost
very
there.
Exciting.
Yeah, you can get ad-free versions of our feed, which I know a lot of people appreciate. If you can't donate, sometimes people are having some financial troubles in these trying times of ours. Totally get it. Our show is always free, but if you can help, just a couple bucks a month, that would be super awesome. So thanks everybody.
And you can be part of a really cool community.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we have a couple emails we'd like to highlight. Emails, comments, Discord conversations, whatever you want to call it. Mark A. Okay. He emailed us and he really struck a chord because I talked about the best or my favorite horror comedies last week. And the one that he mentioned that I failed to mention is one of my favorites, and I totally forgot about it. So, Mark, thank you so much. You said, I don't think you mentioned Drag Me to Hell, but I think it is a really fun roller coaster movie that embodies the Sam Raimi tone. terrifying one second, absurd the next so well. And Mark, I love that movie. It's honestly one of my favorite horror comedies, and I just totally forgot about it. I've seen it like 3 times. Sam Raimi is a really interesting director, really unique style, but I'm really happy that you mentioned that. And then Moses H, he's commenting on our ongoing Halloween themed movie post on Patreon. He says, great list on Halloween themed movies. Movies that I love to watch around Halloween are animated family Halloween movies such as Corpse Bride, Frankenweenie, Coraline, and Paranorman. Such a great aesthetic and really puts me in the mood for Halloween. I totally agree with you. I have not yet watched an animated movie this month, but I'd like to watch Nightmare Before Christmas, possibly. But I haven't seen Paranorman, so maybe I'll do that. But the rest of those are really great. Thank you for writing in, Moses.
I gotta say, and Heather, I know that you're a horror movie person year round, so it's not just about Halloween, but of course it's like fun to get into it.
Sure,
As
I've never
as
watched
you ramp
them
up to
this
Halloween.
many nights in a row.
Yeah,
This
but
is
it's
a little
like
ridiculous.
And there are certain friends that I have who are just, they'll say like Halloween is my favorite, time of the year. They really, costumes are important, so much fun, and that's fine, whatever. I'm not, much of a costume person, but I get it. And I feel like this year, more than any other year, the kind of internet memes of like spooky month have really been off the rails, and like in a cute way. It's like, I don't know. I think we've all gone a little mad.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's like, why not just celebrate Halloween for a month and, be like, it's a holiday. It's a really big deal. My neighbors, I mentioned, like, have these like larger than life, like crazy, like witches and goblins and stuff like on their roof. And they really someone shimmied up a tree to like put like a zombie up there. It's like,
I love it.
It's so not
weird
me,
and cool.
but it's like, someone somewhere is like, I want to go through the trouble of doing this because it makes me happy.
My mom gets really into decorating the house, so she sent me pictures of her. She does all these crafts and she makes skulls and all these things, and she's so cute. I really appreciate that. And every year I think, oh, I should decorate. I should go to a pumpkin patch because it's like nostalgic, But then I don't, and I get sad, and then I'm like, I'll do it next year, and then the whole cycle starts. But I think
I haven't had a Christmas tree since I lived with my parents.
Whoa, really?
There have been a couple times where I had roommates and there'd be a tree,
Sure.
which I enjoyed. But no, I just
maybe this year's the year, Sarah, 2020.
Yeah, I don't know where I'd put
Anything
it,
can
Heather,
happen.
but who knows? Well, also, my mom a couple years ago went fake tree. She was like,
oh yeah,
this is ridiculous. And
it's inevitable.
And it was, it would have been at some point, and I know, gosh, why are we even talking about Christmas right now? But at some point in the past, it would have been like uncouth.
Oh yeah,
fake
totally.
Tree. Some people did, and you'd be like, "What is wrong with them?" And
I
now
still
it's like,
kind of feel
why
that
would
way
you cut
a little.
down a tree?
Yeah, see, but it's both ways,
It
Yeah,
does,
it's actually kind of rude to cut down a tree too.
Yeah, leave the trees up unless they're threatening your property. Then chop them down, like my neighbor did. Thank you, Mike. So yeah, thanks Moses and Mark for some feedback. We also got one from James, aka Raven Nerd. I know you. And James was talking about the episode where I was talking about how I have an extreme aversion to eggs being arranged in a carton the wrong way. They have to be symmetrical, and yes, you might have there might be 5 rather than 4, right? So you're going to be slightly unbalanced because you only have so many places to put them.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But what you should do is eat that egg so that they're only 4, so that then they're symmetrical again, and you don't, lay awake all night thinking about them.
Do it for Sarah, everybody.
Right. So that was my thing. So James passed along a tweet from a gentleman that I don't know, but the handle is Ecology of Gavin Jones, who posted on October 18th a photo of 4 different arrangements of a carton of eggs, a dozen. One was, and the tweet says, the caption is, "You're halfway through your carton of eggs. What is your personality type?" Right? Like, what kind of person are you? The picture number one is, so you're halfway through, so you have 6 eggs. 6 eggs on one side, none on the other.
That's you.
So it's 1, 2, 3, and the 3 under. Those people are monsters, and if you're that person, just, I don't know, never talk to me.
Oh wait, 6 on the top. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's not
Well,
you.
it's 6 on the left.
Okay,
right?
got
Like
it, got
1,
it.
2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3 under, and then the same thing on the right with no eggs.
Okay.
So that's number one. That's a nightmare. Number two is even worse. Number two is 6 across the top,
Oh, that's awful.
none across the bottom. I mean, talk about like, it's like a seesaw that will never happen. Like it's so upsetting. Number 3 is me. So
Oh,
it's,
so that's you.
that's me, because that is the most symmetrical and where you have the center of gravity in the right
Yeah.
place.
I
Number
hear
3
you.
is, so you've got 1, 2, 3 on the top with, it's almost like
the
a,
third over.
it's
so
almost like a game of Tetris.
Yeah,
it's
it
like,
is kind of.
it's that shape.
Yep.
Yeah, you've got
They're all
3 on the
balanced in the
top,
middle.
you got 3 on the bottom, and you have to have the top eggs over a little bit more, and the bottom eggs.
They're like in the middle of the carton. They're all, nothing's on the edges of the right and left. They're like in the middle.
This is the proper way to do it, people. Okay. And then number 4, I don't hate it.
It's wacky.
It's intriguing, but I would never do this.
It's artsy.
Which is, yeah, it's like a sort of a zigzag egg thing. So you got 1 on the top, and then 1 on the bottom, 1 over, repeat.
So you're number 3.
Oh, I'm number 3. Absolutely.
way.
Number 4 bothers me a little bit, but number 1 and number 2 are, you're a devil, people. You're a devil, and I can't be. You can't sit with us.
There's actually more if you keep going down. This is
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
No, it
wow.
actually turned into like a really funny thread. Heather
Yeah.
and James, initially, I'm glad that you shared this with me because it's adorable the way that people do arrange their eggs, and it makes me feel slightly less alone because I know I'm a little crazy about this, but I'm not the only person who cares. So
Clearly
thank you,
not.
thank you, internet.
I love it. Oh my God. I
Yeah.
could talk about this forever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, thanks, James.
We also got a couple really cool feedback from Mike and Chris, who both had some feedback for us about libraries and what you can do with libraries and content. Mike wrote, quick follow-up on 2 things that are connected. Canopy, that's Canopy with a K, is a great resource for free access to videos using a library card.
Which I think we talked about, but maybe not. There was maybe
Yeah.
another service.
Yeah, I think we did briefly. He also says there is a similar service called Hoopla that also offers movies for free using a library card. Mike says, I decided to look up Long Weekend that Heather had mentioned. It's available on Hoopla under the title of Nature's Grave.
Ooh.
So thanks for the video rec and a reminder on how to watch it for free. Chris also wrote in and said, further to the bounty of free video goodness often available from the public library, Acorn. Many libraries offer the service, which is otherwise $5.99 US dollars per month. They focus on British movies and TV series as well as some Australian titles. It all started for me with Broadchurch on Amazon Prime Video, and then I found all sorts of similar British crime series to binge watch on Acorn.
Broadchurch is actually a really good series. That's cool. I've heard of
not
Acorn,
watched it.
but not
There's so
Hoopla.
many things to watch,
Ah,
man.
God, I'm overwhelmed. Still gonna watch horror movies for the rest of the month, but then I'm taking a break.
Yeah, getting into the holidays and stuff. Apparently, Dolly Parton will be launching a Netflix Christmas special.
Oh, really?
Coming
so she's
up.
gonna like play guitar and be on stage, kind of thing, or?
I don't know. A friend of mine sent it to me and was like, "This looks cool," and I was like, "What?" I mean, I don't dislike Dolly Parton at all. I know she's like a treasure, but I'm like, I'm probably not going to watch, this. Right?
That
Like,
makes me chuckle.
did you email the wrong person? Yeah, but whatever. Yeah, who knows?
That's great.
Oh, well,
Love
I'm glad that you're enjoying nature, Heath, and embracing it and planting good stuff. And yeah, as the leaves change and things change around here, I know what my area looks like in the winter, and it's fine. it's winter, right? But there are going to be a lot of bare trees because I've seen,
Yeah.
I've already been through a season and they're not there yet, but they're starting to change colors and I'm sort
yeah.
of mourning them already a little
Oh, me
bit.
too. Like my flowers are starting to die. Like I've had to like deadhead a lot of them because it starts to look really bad, you know? And
Yeah.
I'm sad. I'm like, it's been such a glorious, I mean, despite crazy 2020 darkness, the spring and the summer up here has been really lovely, you know, and colorful. So yeah, I'm still bracing myself for the winter. But I don't know, maybe some good things will come out of it. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, got to look on the bright side, right? Because
You
we're
really
having such a
do.
good day.
That's what I'm all about.
If you have something on your mind and you'd like to email us, hi@havesuchagooddday.com is how to
Yeah.
do it. You can also, anybody who's a patron can comment on any of our Patreon posts and we look
Or
at
you
all
can
that
start
stuff.
a post if you want, apparently.
You could start a post. Huh. I didn't know.
I actually didn't know that either until
Yeah.
Jake posted the Halloween thing. I was like, whoa, this is cool. So
It's
yeah,
probably
start a
something you
conversation.
can toggle on or off, and we obviously have it on, but that's cool. I'm happy about that.
Me too.
And we, at a certain tier, if you become a patron, you can be part of our Discord chat. We got a great crew in there, a lot of
Such
good
a good crew.
folks, and we appreciate everybody. And you know, anything that you can do to help us grow our little team is lots of big fuzzy hearts from us.
Yes.
I just thought about my plant again that has the fungus on it, and I got sad. But I'll turn it around.
Yeah, well, this is the show to do it. So do it before we end the show.
Yeah.
Right now.
Do it now.
Turn
Okay, I'm
that
good.
frown upside down. Okay. All right, you guys. We will see you again next week. And
will.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Sarah.
Have such a good day.
The best.
Ever.